Didn't know that was on that. Sorry about that. So again, on behalf of the YP committee and all the young professionals, thank you to all of our sponsors. You always step up to the plate to support our committee and all the young professional hoteliers in the industry. And whether it's attending our YP town halls or regional meetings or even this event, you as sponsors have always stepped up. So thank you again for all that you do for AAHOAs and for the young professionals. So as our speaker just mentioned, Dorothy Creamer, change is the only constant, and tech is exponentially growing, but so is our industry. What a great time to be young professionals in our industry today. Opportunities are endless. As our director, Purdy Kanwala, mentioned, we have 9 development days this year. That's phenomenal. So with all that opportunity comes responsibility. So as you're sitting in this session today and you're hopefully taking part in all the resources that are available to you as young professionals in the industry, I urge you to get involved, attend things. It is no longer acceptable to just attend one of these events once a year, come meet everybody for a day or two and go back to your businesses. Because as we see, we're talking about innovative shower doors right now, right? So if you miss a few things here and there, you might get left behind. So I challenge you all as you're sitting here today and as these brand development days come up or these workshops come up, please participate, get involved. We are leaders in our industry. You're all in here because you are our future leaders. And so with that comes responsibility. So again, please take advantage of all the resources that AAHOA provides to you as part of your membership. And with that, since we all are leaders, I wanted to introduce our next topic, which is going to be leadership and technology, the heart and mind of hospitality. So today's keynote speaker is the founder of the Hospitality Digital Marketing, a leading expert in the hospitality industry. He has contributed to publications such as New York Times, USA Today, Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, and numerous other trade publications. Mr. Gray was also chair of the Digital Marketing Council of Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International, HSMAI. At HSMAI, they've named Mr. Gray as one of the top 25 extraordinary minds in sales and marketing. He currently also serves on America's HSMAI International Organization and on the board of the Digital Career Center in Dallas, Texas. So without further ado, please let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Loren Gray.
Bringing my own technology. Thank you all very much, and thank you very much for the privilege to the team of AAHOA for allowing me to speak, and also to you all, the privilege of your time. I'm going to plug everything in while I begin to talk. I normally talk too much and never have enough time for everything I want to say. And for some of you, I had the privilege of meeting just briefly a little bit this morning because I was trying to make sure that what we talked about today was relevant to what you're here for, to what you want to listen to. I purposely downsized my slides to not really having many at all, to open up the dialogue with you. This is, I know traditionally, keynote presentations are all about pontification and, hey, this is insightful, long-range looking kind of things, but I want this to be a useful, functional conversation about the usability of technology and what leadership really is in comparison to what we think it is, which sometimes gets misconstrued as management. So if you give me just a moment to get everything plugged in, what I would like to do is, and I do apologize to the team at AAHOA for doing this, because at first we're going to have the audio people, John over there, do it, but I'm going to do it over here. I want to play a bit of a video to give you an idea of the sense that you probably are very much aware of as to what technology is like in the current market. I look forward to the invitation just because for the first time I don't have to explain technology to the audience. As a matter of fact, most of you can probably teach me technology. What I hope is a value proposition, especially if we don't consider what we're talking about as being age-based. I should have been invited twice, as my age was the correlation to that, is the usability, the functionality. I was concerned with how leadership is being actually used in hospitality now compared to what we can see in management. To start this dialogue, I want to ask you something. Who has a smartphone? Please take it out. Up. Yep. Unlock it. Unlocked. Hand it next to the person next to you.
No.
What?
No.
Feels weird, doesn't it? It's unlocked, right? Your personality just left your head. Now, you're not paying attention to me anymore. You're paying attention to the person that now has your unlocked phone in their hand. Now, I was going to be actually a little bit more aggressive and say, put it on your photos and then hand it over. But I figured at that point, nobody would actually participate with this process. You may now hand your phone back and rest at ease, because I'd much rather have you pay attention to what I'm about to talk about. But with that in mind, I would like you to keep the phone out and put it face down on the table. I don't want to fight the technology we're about to talk about. And if I don't keep your attention for the next 2 to 5 minutes, I will be fighting you, checking your emails, checking whatever it is that you would like to check, or read whatever it is you would find of interest. What I want to talk about is what technology means to us as a business. What I have is a Prezi presentation about slides that really are just nothing more than milestones associated with the topic. Okay, where do I? You all are leaders in your field. Now, for just some sense of who is in the room with us today, more for my edification than you all, because you all have that chance to talk to each other. Please, by a show of hands, do you have people working directly for you that are under your supervision, that you write reviews, reports, and so forth for? Okay? How many people in their current position feel that they influence the jobs and businesses of people in the organization? Raise your hand. A larger amount. Is the tool that you need to use for the responsibilities that you have management or leadership? As I said, this is an open dialogue, and I'm hoping that questions come forth, but also answers to questions that I'm asking. All right. Make sure that I'm not moving the cable around as I walk. Anyone want to venture to the idea of leadership? What makes a good leader? Besides a blinking screen. Yes, ma'am.
One that makes those around them better.
One that makes those around them better. Excellent choice. Yes. What else?
Lead by example.
Lead by example. What else? Communication, the ability to convey what it is that you're asking to be done. Excellent, thank you. What else? We all want to be good leaders. I don't think anybody's not going to run and raise their hand that if the responsibility of taking care of other people's lives, we want to be good leaders. What other attributes are associated with leadership?
Coaching and adapting.
Adaptation, flexibility, and going to the communication, listening, and adapting from it, yes? So with this, we didn't say anything about management. Is a manager a leader?
No.
No. Why? I have a title. I'm a vice president. Why am I not a leader? Because I might have to change that. Is it because I can't tell you what to do? No, I can tell you what to do. I'm your vice president. Would you not have to listen to me if I told you what to do? I mean, isn't that kind of like where I'm communicating? I'll listen to what you have to say, but you still have to do what I'm telling you. What's the distinction between management and leadership?
Vision.
Sorry?
Vision.
I didn't hear it. What's that?
Vision. Vision.
Vision, thank you. And screen vision. And why am I blinking on that? All right. I'll keep moving around so we have this. So, with that in mind, I want to talk a little bit about how we make the distinction. I know I'm supposed to talk about technology, and I do. And to this end, and I did solicit this from a lot of people that I had a chance to talk with, this linking portion of our program is the albeit short part. And I do apologize for AAHOA for thinking that was the entire context. I'm not one for scripts or one for pre-planned conversations. I thoroughly love doing what I do, and for the privilege of being able to speak with you, other than the wonderful output of what they read, I have owned and operated hotels and restaurants all my life. I've been born and raised in hospitality. I have had the privilege of working with some of the most amazing people that I feel in the world, and to truly, truly say that I had team members that would jump off the cliff and as we're falling, ask us why we jumped. And I love that the trust and the loyalty of being able to work with people. And not every one of them had a title, but they certainly were leaders in their own field, capable beyond measure of what they had for responsibilities, whether it was a doorman that lived there and worked there at that hotel for 15 to 25 years, and was the instrumental face of that place. But he wasn't a manager, but he was a leader. So, I'm going to hold the cable, hoping that that will stop the winky part. And we'll go into the idea of what management is. From a construct point of view, all of these words can be connected to each other. The authority, the assignability, compliance, the task-driven mentality, okay? These are all aspects of management. Management is a directive. It is a progression towards. It's a method to a purpose. My example to this is this. That's management. Technically, all the sheep are going in the same direction. Technically. The sheep behind, the ones that are in front, probably don't know they're about to get run over from a car. Neither do the sheep going up the cliff that are kind of going in the same direction, or the ones that are on the other side of the cliff that don't know where they're going, but they're kind of going in the same direction. Management is about direction. Management can use technology all day long. It can validate assumptions. It can prove statistics, that 85% of all statistics are made up on the spot, so it says the remaining 25%. I wish you could catch on that one. The idea is that math, technology, usability are all the tools that management use for subjugation and direction, but they're not leadership. Using technology for leadership will be a key component. Oh, I forgot to warn you about the phones on the table. If by fact you pick it up, I will ask you to stand up and ask me a question, or to contribute to what we're about to say. So, I'll be watching. It is also about regulation. Is the person here in this picture leading the group that he's in charge of? Is he? I mean, he's not in front, don't get me wrong. You don't have to be in front to lead. But is he truly guiding them, or is he herding them? We often make jokes about herding cats. We often are being given lots of different choices in our process of decision making, in which we're supposed to go to an end goal, but we have a lot of dysfunctional connections as to what we have to do to get there. And for that end, we tend to herd cats, kind of keep them going in the same direction, that hopefully eventually one of them will get to the point that we ask them to get to, but the other ones we're not so worried about, kind of like the sheep before. That is going to bug me as much as it's bugging you. There we go, I'm just going to hang it right there. All right, so, technology. What's the purpose of technology, the value of technology? In its most simplest form, it's to take large problems and make them smaller problems. Big fires into little fires. It's the ability to use a large amount of information and make it into a usable function that you can make decision processes from. We're going to ignore the slides real soon here and do hand puppets. To that end, we have two components to data. Because really when we're talking about technology, we're taking the ability to do a lot and make it a little. I'll just keep hanging on this one for a little bit. Yeah, we'll switch over to it. It's going to be a problem. Like I said, I'm good with hand puppets, so we'll be fine. What is the difference between structured and unstructured data? And to this, I don't expect the entire audience to know the difference, because you all are dealing with technology. I talk to web developers, architects, construction people, programmers. How many people actually program that are doing coding? I got a couple with one hand. Nobody else is doing programming? No app builders? Wonderful place, good career. All right, so structured data is what you see in this Excel sheet. Columns, tabulations, correlations. There's similarities to the data. Unstructured, flickering data is personal interaction. What do I know about you as an individual? From the early presentation with Dorothy, it was kind of funny. First off, I don't think I'll ever buy a steam shower roll design thing with you, but it was kind of cute. The use of technology and our ability to finite it into marketing is critical. Our ability to use technology and put it into operation and finite our ability to do more related complex tasks simply is also a valuable thing to do. But unstructured data is the parts that we don't know. Does anybody, the term Smurf, familiar? But when was the last time a small blue person showed up at your front desk? Smurf is our ability to take a large amount of data and simplify it into categories that we stereotype people. We categorize them according to the level of relationship value they are to us. Smurf business is different than corporate business versus the transient business. We classify our data into categories for us to understand. Technology can take that data classifications and drive it down to a market of 1. So instead of me classifying you by your age, or your income, or your source of location that you come from, we are going to ignore that for a while. We instead can say individually what you like, that you like foam pillows over down pillows, that you like air conditioning set at 69 and not 75, or that you like looking at information about destinations, about family adventures versus corporate travel. That's what technology can help us with from a marketing side. Taking large sums of data and information and driving it down to a single usable functionality. Now, these are just some of the departments that we deal with when it comes to technology usage. And I know from some of you that I spoke with, there is the usability of your operations, your marketing, your CRM. Now, to be fair and not to talk past things, what is CRM? I'm sorry? Customer relationship management. What are some platforms that are used for CRM that you're using now?
Salesforce.
Salesforce. What else? Yeah, yes, it is used on, I have reservations on some platforms, but yes. There are those that CRM platform that can be used at Revenue. Brand has their own CRM interfaces. All brands have their own CRM interfaces. The condition is whether or not that CRM is actually interfacing with other platforms and other data sources. That's a key element of the conversation. So, these are the parameters of what technology is being used for. Last section of this conversation before we move to the aspect of answering questions and going through the topics that we want to hit, that I think we want to hit. Leadership. Just because I know something, does that make me a great leader? I see head shaking, but just no, right? Just because I'm aware of technology. I bring this up for a reason. I noticed in the earlier segments and in the conversation in the first presentation today, the history and the culture that comes to what it means to have and own and operate hotels. I noticed that even in the sponsorship video was a very strong correlation to the history of ownership of hotels, the history of infusing yourself into the business, the families that are associated with it, the history of what brought you to here. And you're in a unique position in the youth of your age that you're being brought at levels of responsibility without necessarily the history that normally went with generations before you on learning the trade, the learning cycle into the business itself of cleaning the toilets, cooking the food, changing the rooms, checking people in, because your skill set is so advanced now. The knowledge that you have is so advanced now that you're being put into roles of responsibility that influence the lives and payroll of people that don't even know you by name, if the organization is of that size, but that you, by your own decisions, can influence their success by the fact that you've chosen one option A versus option B, whether it be a marketing program or operations program. We made a simple discussion about just talking about reducing paperwork and paper flow. You might find that by creating a better efficiency of automating or putting everything onto small screens, that it improves the usage of it. But you may have also put somebody out of work. That was the person that correlated that data and put that together and put it in ring binders and gave it to different department heads. The impact of your decisions with the responsibilities that you're being given in your organization, whether it be family-based, whether it be just corporate and your opportunity with other businesses, is profound. So the question of leadership is more crucial than ever for you. And I know some people looking at phones don't make me ask you to stand up. It was the casual glance to the side. But I do want you to participate. I do want questions. I'm just now participating and standing on a soapbox right now, but I do want to point out that leadership has components that in and of themselves are not the reason why you're a leader, but they are a crucial element to why you need to be a leader and not just a manager, and not just good technology-wise or good knowledge-wise, period, in what your responsibility is being given to you. And I do know that some of you are in very high-level positions within your company, if not your own company, if not within several companies that you have relationships with. That brings us to the second point out of the flash on the screen, and that is wisdom. You have not been given the benefit of wisdom yet. And I say that when I look at you because I look at me when I say this. I was my mother's indentured servant as a busboy. She was the first formal waitress, we used to call, ever. And And that was a man's club, front and back house. And we did the tableside services and so forth. And I was her busboy. I mean, I never got any money for it, but I worked my butt off. But that got me into hospitality at 11 years old. I ended up owning restaurants and everything else from that. And I learned how to be a formal waiter and tableside service. And I still, to this day, the best person I ever knew was the Jamaican waiter who was third generation waiter. And he was proud as the day was long. He was absolutely phenomenal at his job. The service that you love to have at a table, it's there when you need it, not there when you don't. It doesn't evade what you're doing, but it's always present. It's a wonderful opportunity when you're a good server to give that magic to a table. That's why we have restaurants. I love that feeling that you got when you gave somebody a good meal and a great experience. All of a sudden I'm at a hotel in a food and beverage. That's where I came through. You know, I had own my own restaurant, chef, all that stuff, and I go over and I work in a hotel. It's like, wait a minute. I get to not only give them a good meal, I get to give them a good night's stay or a good event at a resort. Next thing you know, it grew and grew and grew. The love, the heart of the servant is really the heart of hospitality. Leadership is the heart of those who provide it. So wisdom is something you've not been given the opportunity. Wisdom is something that takes time. Wisdom is to hit the mistakes and learn from them. And you're being given opportunities that shove you into a very high responsible position, but then you have to kind of learn without hurting. So it's a very challenging thing that you have in the positions that you have. It's enviable, but it's also scary. A good leader also is supportive. We talk about communication, we talk about blinking screens. You have to be, as a leader, the person that always is helping somebody else. It's like being a parent. Children think they did it on their own. But they realize when they get old enough as old as their parents, the parents just clear the path before them. Good leaders do that to their team. The team runs better when the leader's not there if it's a good team. Because they want to prove that they can perform without the need of leadership. When I stood in front of a hotel that was operating, I had several hundred employees. I went over and asked the fun question, who here doesn't need to be here today for this hotel to run? And there was lots of jokes like Bob at the doorman, he doesn't open the door anyway, or just fun things that they were saying. And I said, no, me. I can be elsewhere. I'm not checking someone in today. I'm not cleaning somebody's room today. I'm not cooking somebody's food today. Now, it's not that it's not crucial that there's not a decision maker, but it is crucial that those who do their job in their team understand that there is leadership to what they're doing. There's purpose to what they're doing. And to do that, you have to share and support and be that person that clears the path for their success. I used to only want to hire people that never worked in the hotel. Why? Because they saw the hotel the way a guest sees a hotel. I walk up to a front desk, and there's nobody at the front desk. I am already clicking into the old shift change, this and that, they're in the back for that. I mean, I'm making excuses for them. A person that doesn't work in a hotel looks and says, wait a minute, there's nobody at the front desk, that's wrong. We either have to change the staff or something. That freshness of view is what we always should have in our own businesses. We should always look at it from the customer that we're serving. That's the purpose of our existence. That's the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing, is to provide hospitality. Hospitality is the core of what we do. The methodology, the use of technology, the manageability of it, are all the functionalities associated with it. They're not the purpose of our being there. It's that smile that you get, that satisfaction you get about the service that you provide. That's what leadership gives to its team. So supportive, and that builds the trust that you need. You can't follow someone that you do not trust. I can't work for somebody I do not trust. It's a weird thing. Because if you don't trust them, you're worried about the next step, the next problem, the next issue. So anybody that's working with you, and you're their leader, their manager, okay, they have to trust you. And trust comes from being accurate and admitting mistakes. It's not always being right. It's about being right about what you do and how you learn from what you've done. To that end, I present this picture of the blinks. It's not the sheep. You'll notice that the lioness to the left-hand side is leading this pack. Not, as you would think, the male dominant or leader of the pack, the male of the herd kind of thing, will be, nor even maybe the second male. All of them have purpose. The lioness in the front isn't looking behind her to see if everybody's doing their job. She's not looking behind to see if they're even following. But she's leading because for whatever they're about to do, she's the best suited to be the one leading it, the one that knows best of what to do. And all the participants, whether it is the GM, the president, the CEO, whatever classification you want to give anybody that's on the flanks, to the rear, and everyone's doing their part to the purpose of what they're about to do. Leadership isn't about having the biggest title. Leadership isn't about having the greatest authority. Leadership is about commanding the followings that are created because of the expertise that you represent to the purpose of what's happening at that time. And leadership changes persistently. Your team is constantly in flux of who really is the point of truth for whatever it is that you need to do. And oftentimes, it is you. You're in that position of what you're doing because of your expertise in what you do. But the depth of knowing what you have, that's the wisdom. That's the implication that if I make this choice, we're about to take payroll or people out of positions, or are we going to grow business and drive more people? This here is what happens when there's good leadership. There's purpose to it. And of course, my little phone went, which one? Okay. That's all I prepped. And I have a little bit more time. And a few things that we had talked, I'm hoping that those questions come back to me again. Because we're talking about how technology works with your leadership, how technology fits to what you're doing. I had a video that I wanted to show. I don't think we have time to do it, but if you want to look it up, and actually I'm recording, I'm sorry, the little gadget's down here, which is now draping. There's a 360 camera and a recorder. I'm recording it, and I usually do this so that I can always go back and say, man, I look big, or I look weird, I talk really weird. So I play it back, but I'm saving it, and I've asked that they make it available if you're interested in playing this back for any purpose at all, to miss stuff or hear stuff or whatever. And I have a video that, I'll put the link to wherever I have this posted up to. It's WhatsApp in China. You all work from and know of a world where WhatsApp is the most dominant thing in the culture. WhatsApp is literally everything. And it's funny to look at the North American market or even the EU market and say, you have fragmented Facebook, you have Instagram and so forth. WhatsApp is everything to this process. This is just driving me nuts, but I am going to try to just play a little bit of it to see if we can, if I just hold the keyboard, maybe it'll do it. All right, let's see what we got. It's about 5 minutes. This is the technology we're fighting or working with right now.
If you're sitting in the United States or Europe right now, you've probably never used a Chinese app. But the reality is, if you want to know how the internet will develop, China, the land once known for its cheap rip-offs, has actually become a guide to the future. The internet is the internet. But for China, the internet is more like an intranet. It's largely walled off from the Western world by this incredibly complex system of filters and blocks that we call the Great Firewall. And basically, the Great Firewall blocks any foreign site the Communist Party doesn't think it can control. So that means there is no Facebook, no Twitter, no Google. Instead, what filled the internet vacuum was a generation of Chinese copycats that grew into huge companies. So for Google, you had Baidu. For YouTube, you had Youku. For Twitter, you had Sina Weibo. The list goes on and on. It's almost as if the Chinese internet is a lagoon as an aside to the greater ocean of the internet. And in that lagoon, there are these swamp monster apps that bear some resemblance to the creatures in the ocean, but are mutated in some ways because they evolved in a different kind of environment. But things have started to shift in the sense that before, no one outside of the lagoon really cared about the swamp monsters. But now, all of a sudden, some of the features they've developed are so amazing that Western apps are trying to copy them. And the greatest example of this is WeChat. WeChat is an example of, for lack of a better word, a super app. It's a Swiss Army knife that basically does everything for you. It's your WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, and Uber. It's your Amazon, Instagram, Venmo, and Tinder. But it's other things we don't even have apps for. There are hospitals that have built out whole appointment booking systems. There are investment services. There are even heat maps that show how crowded a place is, be it your favorite shopping mall or a popular tourist site. The list of services goes on basically forever. But it's not the variety of things you can do on WeChat that makes it so powerful. It's the fact that they're all in one app. So why does that matter? Hypothetically, imagine you're sitting at home and one day you notice your cord needs dirty. You open WeChat, hit a few buttons, and a few hours later a man shows up at your door with some shampoo and a big vacuum. Your dog gets cleaned and it looks cool. You take a photo, you share it with your friends, and tag your dog cleaning business. You haven't left the app. Your friend who likes Hello Kitty and works a boring office job is slacking off at work and looking at WeChat. She sees the photo of your clean corgi. She decides she wants her poodle clean. She clicks the tag on your photo and orders the same service. Within seconds, the man with the big vacuum is on his way to her house. She pays him, and he's happy because he got paid instantly on WeChat. She starts chatting with you to thank you. Neither of you have left the app. While chatting, she tells you about a new hip noodle joint. She says, you have to come. It's a schlep, but you accept it. She orders food while still at her desk. You order a taxi. She pays for the food. On the way to her house, the man with the big vacuum invests the money he earned from both of you into a wealth management product that's probably a little too risky. Neither of you nor the man with the big vacuum have left the app. Both of you arrive and the app tells the kitchen you're there. Your WeChat profile photo pops up on the wall. It's an old photo from the year you had that weird part in your hair. Of course she makes a comment. Your food is served. You notice your meat is a bit overcooked, so you stamp a photo and post a disparaging restaurant review. You're already on your phone, and you remember you still owe your friend money because she paid to transfer her money. Neither of you, the man with the big vacuum, nor the restaurant, have left the app. At the restaurant, there are no menus, there are no waiters, there is no cashier. There is only WeChat. By rolling so many functions into one single app, it's altered the concept of virality. It's no longer just videos or images or tweets that can go viral. It's a dog washer, noodles, all sorts of companies and products that get the push of the social network. Here in China, that network is 700 million people. Sounds great, right? Well, it is, but using a single app to find a date, schedule an oil change, or notarize a document also enables WeChat to collect a staggering volume of personal data. They know what you talk about, who you talk about it with, what you read, where you go, why you're going there, who's there, how you spend money when you're online, how you spend money when you're offline. The list goes on indefinitely. For advertisers, this is a miracle. It's the combined data of Facebook, Amazon, Google,